Aha! Welcome back to God's Autobiography. My name is Stephen French, and this is episode 50. Last part of, I guess, season 1 is how... Oh, I'm going to end up dropping my phone. I'm guessing this is the end of season 1 of this little project. It's a little uneventful project that's kind of just for me, but I put it on the internet anyways. But I've been thinking a lot, just kind of about reflection, about not mirrors, but like self-reflection. And it seems pretty easy to come to the conclusion that everything that's hurt me, everything that at one point I've seen as negative in my life has kind of been actually a positive. They're all their own boons in their own way. Arguably not this, although I did explain before that it does, I do see some positives, not in the physical, like biological side, but more in the head and the heart. It has its place, it has its time. But everything else, every injury that I've had, this injury that I'm going through now, something that I'm continuing to learn from, every heartbreak I've had, and unfortunately every heartbreak I probably will have from here, because it's bound to happen. I've got dark X's on my future calendar, and I don't mean that like X relationship, just when you cross off a day on your calendar, sometimes you cross off a good day, some days you cross off a bad one. And if I could see into my future calendar, there's going to be heaps of both. But I maintain the perspective that all of those dark X's are other smaller victories. Maybe not even smaller, maybe bigger ones. Like I've been saying for a while now that I'm a fan of failure before listening to Gary Vee, and that just kind of encouraged my mindset, made me feel like I'm doing something right. But we're going to fail far more times than we'll succeed at anything. So if it's going to happen more, may as well tell myself that I enjoy it. My brother said the same type of line up in Potsdam. It was getting close to winter, and he's at like the top of New York, so it's going to be fucking cold for him. And he said, "Oh, I can't wait for winter." I'm like, dude, like, how can you say that? Like, it's going to suck. He's like, well, you kind of have to say that when you live here. It's a mentality thing. And he's right. He's spot on with it. But with this current reflection, thinking back on pretty much the worst I've been hurt, the worst that I've felt, the darkest X's on my calendar, and it comes down to more on that relationship side. That's when, in my life at least, I've been the most vulnerable. It's when in my life I've been kind of the happiest, and it's in my life when I've been the definite saddest, as things like that cascade into an avalanche of pain and emotion. And I've said before that there's a girl that I don't really want to talk about on this. I'm not going to name her. I haven't been naming anybody really, except for like friends on adventures and stuff. But there's a girl that I think I'm still in love with. And I know I'm in love with the idea of her. And I've been confident at different points and then less confident at others that my idea of her and her are and are not the same person. So I'm not sure what my attachment is. But this was my second actual relationship. Mentioned Kelly Fish Girl. She still means a lot to me, and that heartbreak is something that I understand what I had learned from, and I understand why in some weird way I needed it, and how it was a net positive overall. This other one was worse. It was I think I started dating this girl maybe 6 months after the one before. I had known her for a while. I had worked with her for a while. She was in a relationship that whole time that I knew her. I didn't actually know that because I was in a relationship and didn't care to find that information out. But it had been brought to my attention that she was interested in me, and she had ended her, I guess at the time, current or recent previous relationship. I don't really know how the tenses get all jumbled. So we talked more. We kind of got together a little bit. Didn't progress into much very fast, and then it kind of was an exponential curve. Started just progressing quicker and quicker, and we became a thing. And it was kind of in the sense like we're good friends. We're good at being friends. We're good at being together. This doesn't have to be super serious, but it can be something, and we can see where it goes. And if it doesn't fail, we're good at being friends. Never works that way in hindsight, at least not yet. Who knows, for future reference. not reference, but future prospects. But it turned into something big. And throughout the beginning of its turnings, I'd put up a really big wall, emotional wall around myself. I was afraid of being vulnerable. I was, in a way, afraid of being happy again, because I knew what was around the next corner. And we had ended up being together for maybe like a year after that. Not a full year. So I think we were together for like a year and a half overall. So maybe like after, I think maybe 4 or 6 months in, I'm pretty bad at thinking back on time accurately. The relationship started to fall apart and it started to end. And I actually called it. I'd spoken with my friends. I said, I'm pretty sure she's going to leave me, and I'm pretty sure it's my fault. I hadn't done anything wrong in like a sense of like being unfaithful or anything, but I'm often in my head a lot, and I don't show what is the word, jealousy. Like I'm not jealous of somebody that I'm with when they go and hang out with other people, because I have a higher level of trust, I guess, than maybe I should, or maybe most people do. But I start with that. I start with having like the most trust I can in a significant other, because I feel like that's the way to do it. But I do understand that jealousy, where it's annoying, is also kind of wanted. It shows, I guess, more proof that the person's invested and cares. And I present that in a different way. But it kind of went that route. I was right, and she ended things, and it was short-lived, because I really took it to heart. There was criticism that was presented to me about a flaw of myself, and I worked really damn hard. And I've heard from some of my closest friends that they noticed a very sound and reliable improvement in my life as a result of it. I had changed everything down to just like basic daily habits, to consistency of integrity, of working on the things that I thought were important for me. And I was able to change myself genuinely enough that she noticed it, and she desired the route that I was taking. And we reunited in this relationship, and it was a banging relationship. It was fantastic. I'm not a very like PDA type of person. I'm keen to it, but I've just been with a lot of people, not a lot of people, but I've been with a few people I've been with that wasn't desired from them, and that's kind of the trends that I picked up. That, I don't know, a really stupid assumption that other people aren't that way. So I'm not super affectionate in public, although I'm not against it. I just don't initiate it because I don't know how the other person is. And it had been said to her from a former roommate of mine that if I didn't know you two were dating, I would not expect that you were dating. And that meant a lot more to her than it did to me, because that was a reflection of our relationship in a public domain from a third party. And that has nothing to do with my perspective of my relationships as the first party. Like, I don't care what other people see and think. That doesn't matter. Like, if we have a bond, then I'm satisfied with that. And I understand that other people require more. It's just not me. I'm gonna clip this. American spirits are a little bit rough. Oh! But things were better. Things got better. We were together again, and things were fantastic. There was a common theme that I've had with like relationship experience, where if a girlfriend says that there's a male friend that you shouldn't worry about, maybe you should worry about it. Is kind of the lesson I've learned in hindsight. I'm going to try my best to not, because I don't like jumping to such like suspicious conclusions like that. But there was this friend that I was told to not worry about. They had a very subtle thing in the past that didn't work out, so they were comfortable being friends, and they had no interest in pursuing anything further. We had continued through being in a great relationship. In my perspective, it was perfect. I was madly in love with her, to the point where I still think I might be. It's pretty fucked. And on one day in particular, she came over, and it was the 1-year anniversary of a close relative's death, someone that had meant a lot to her. It was easy to assume that when she came over, it would be an emotional time, because like, how the fuck could it not be? And it was just that. It's weird to have a prediction that's like 100% accurate, or seemingly so, and then just be tossed a curveball. As we're sitting in my room, and through her tears, she mumbles that She has something to tell me, but she doesn't know how. And I know enough to know exactly what that means. Like, you're interested in ending this. Like, that's exactly what that is. But like on the most like emotional day, like when I'm incredibly sad, like I don't think anyone when they're incredibly sad should make seemingly important decisions. But I was told that everything was perfect. The relationship, me, like that situation was perfect, which resonated with how I saw it. Like I thought the situation, stop going blurry, dude. I thought that the situation, focus. I thought the situation was perfect. And then, but that was followed up by, but I don't want a relationship with you. Or I don't want a future with you. It's like, well, then it wasn't perfect, because that's kind of antithetical to perfect. It is clearly flawed in your mind, and just fucking say that. But that was an entire lie. It came to be. It was that person, that guy that I was told to not worry about. They immediately started dating. That was all that it was. Like, and I'm fine with it to a degree. Like I can accept that. If you feel more for someone else, you should be with who you think your life is best with. You don't fucking lie to them about it. You don't hide it from them. If like you end it and then you pursue something else, but just be fucking honest with the person that you're saying I love you to. And that wasn't given to me. And that put me, that betrayal of just like, to be able to tell me they're in love with me, to be able to tell me that our relationship is perfect, but then be so willing and somehow eager to lie and like to, like, I don't know, to make it easier for me. I don't know, that's a bullshit. That's just bullshit. If you care about somebody, you're honest with them. If you don't care about somebody, you lie to them. I don't know, maybe I'm autistic, but that's just how it fucking works. That's the equation. And it like the other, like with Kelly Fish Girl, it was a worse setup in like my living conditions, because everything I went through with that, it made sense to me that should have been a worse time, but this girl meant so much more. I had gone through this roller coaster of fear to build this wall around myself to try to protect myself, to realizing that was pathological and that I needed to strip myself of that. And I broke through that wall as head on and kind of opened up my heart to the situation. And then to be met with that lie from the person that I so like honestly told I loved, I didn't know how to handle it. I went through just the worst few months of my life. I had been there before. I had been to my hell, and I had learned how to come out of it. And I knew still, like I learned from it, and I retained that knowledge when I was there again, when I was in like this dark realm of my own reality. I knew exactly what I needed to do to get out of it, to get better, to climb out of that hole. And I didn't want to. Like, I was happier finding contentment in the low. And that's why I had mentioned before, that's why I had initially started smoking these, because it found me a balance on a lower spectrum instead of trying to work myself up to bring my emotions up to my health. And I stayed in that state for a long time. I would walk. I had a closer commute than I was riding a bicycle or walking to work, and it was only 3 miles. I was working at Best Buy, and people at work, this old man Don, who I value like crazy, just a really honest, really kind man, just would look at me and just genuinely say, like, I'm sorry, like, you're really sad. Like, he could just see, I couldn't put on a fake smile if I wasn't, like, if I was talking with a customer, I could do my best to put on a face and I could help them, but the job was so slow that I often didn't have anyone that I had to speak to, so I would just stand there and wait. And if I didn't have something occupying my time, I would just dig into my own mind, and I would just miss her. It was the worst few months of my life so far, and I know damn well that I can experience worse than that later in my life, because I have no control over it, and I need to be ready, and I need to not build up a wall, and I need to remain positive that if I'm there again, that I will use my tools, my assets, my mindset to get me back out of it. And in hindsight, I was so scared, and I'm still kind of scared of getting into that, not to getting into a dark space again, but to getting into the mindset where I almost want to stay there. I never became suicidal. I never self-harmed aside from throwing some damage at my lungs. But I was wishing for pain, for physical pain, to again give me that balance, to bring me back down, and hoping that something else would take over, something out of my control. I can't describe it any other way than hell. It was not torture. People go through worse. People are living through worse every day. So there is perspective to it, but it was my worst, and that matters to me more so than to anybody else. And I'm glad that I came out of it, but I'm left with this image of who I was in love with, and then this, I guess, proposition of who that person actually was. And it'll be 2 years in February, and I still can't think of one of those people without thinking of the other. And I still feel so much love for her, and I still think that relationship was perfect, but I have full confidence that it wasn't genuine. I have no desire to try again, given the opportunity, which I don't expect or plan or think it's even remotely possible that I'll get an opportunity. But I'm pretty confident that if I did receive another opportunity, that I wouldn't take it, because it wouldn't be genuine, it wouldn't be right. That idea, that hypothesis of where I thought my life was going and who it would be with was wrong, and I've learned that, and I believe that, and it would still be wrong with that person. But I like understanding things. I like knowing things, and it's very, very frustrating and confusing and painful to not be able to know something about myself in this way. Like to hate and love the same person, and to not even know who that fucking person is after when it's somebody that was somebody you were the closest to. I don't know. I feel all sorts of ways. I've been in small relationships after that, and I can do well to not think about her for the most part. And she doesn't hold me back in any way. I don't spend my days dwelling on it. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. That one, it's a really weird one for me. I will eventually be with somebody else. That is likely. I strive for that companionship again. I do want a stable relationship again, but right now I've changed my path. I've changed my desires, and I'm choosing a life that doesn't really align with that type of companionship. I'm going to be deliberately living in a van and driving across the country as often as I can, and doing a lot on my own, spending a lot of time on my own. And I've been doing that for a little while now. I'm always alone. But I'm never lonely. I've grown. Again, this is another one of those times that I was put to my worst position, and I came out with a net positive. I am definitely more stable and stronger and smarter and have more experience now because of everything that happened. But I don't know. I'm alone, but I'm never lonely. I'm really, really good at being by myself. I'm really happy in my own head. I don't need other people anymore, but I don't push them away anymore. I think I found a pretty stable balance with that. But this one's hard to talk about because there's so much in my head about her, and I can't elaborate it. I can't put it into words. I don't know. I can't tell if I'm in love with her. I can't tell if I despise her. I can't tell if I know her. I've been stripped of communication. There's no knowing. I have no fucking clue. But I'm not going to dwell on it. I just needed another topic for the last day of this series, and that's one that comes to my mind from time to time. So there it is. Episode 50, God's Autobiography. My name is Stephen French. It is December 21st, winter solstice, I believe. And gonna take a break now. Gonna focus more on my game development and get ready for season 2 of this, which will be more of my often political or religious or like I don't know, any just rambling thoughts, deeper ideas, controversial subjects. And then, yeah, enjoy the rest of your 2018. I'm probably going to come back on the 1st and see where this new year takes us. Goodbye.